Hello and welcome to another edition of Design for the Times. I'm your host, Richard Christopher Scuderi. Very happy to have in studio here, although I want to call it a clubhouse. You know, Andy Cohen has a clubhouse.
There you go.
In the clubhouse here, I have a guest who I've dealt with and I'm dealing with right now for a long period of time. His name is Dennis, I'm going to say the last name together right. Dennis
Wuest.
Wuest.
There you go.
Like Diane Wuest. And he's with Graber Blinds Company. And Graber, I find, has a quality product and also priced accordingly, but very fair with their pricing. We've developed a relationship, and I really like your product line. And I wanted to talk today about Graber, the name. It's known, but it's not always known everywhere.
Right.
Why don't you talk a little bit about the company Graber and then how you got involved?
Okay. I've been working with Graber actually since high school,
Wow.
1981.
Okay.
I started work study program, started working with the Graber drapery hardware, doing displays.
Right.
So from the hardware, it went into mini blinds, cellular shades, verticals, and the product line just worked its way up.
It's funny, fashion-wise, things happen at different times. So I would say probably in the beginning of your career in the 1980s, it was all about the mini blinds, right?
Yeah.
People were taking down whatever they had before and they were putting mini blinds up. That was the thing. They were lightweight. And then colors back then, remember?
Yes.
Very much color. So you have one room, you look outside somebody's house and one room was pink, the next room was blue.
Right.
And then it just progressed, right?
Yes, it did. And
Definitely.
then Springs Window Fashion's been in business for over 75
So
years.
let's talk about that, because you use the name Springs a lot in conjunction with Graber. Were there two different companies that came together? What's the origin company? Is it Springs or is it Graber?
It's Springs Window Fashions is
Okay.
the mother company.
Okay.
And then they do bedding and everything. Graber is actually just a little division to Graber
of the bigger thing
of
is
Springs Window Fashions,
Okay,
yes.
wonderful. So you started with them. Then you said something to me before we went on air, is that you said you did some installations first.
Oh, yes.
That's probably the best learning experience you can have, right?
Yes.
Because you see how everything functions.
Exactly.
Did you like doing installations?
I did like doing the installation. I like working with my hands.
Sure.
And it got you to, like you said, know the product. So when you sold it to your customer, you knew exactly how to install it, if it could be put inside mount, outside mount. You knew exactly how you can
Yeah, how you
work it.
can stretch things, what works, what's a good application. It's very important to know that, especially with your product, because it has to be as functional as it is beautiful, don't you
Yes,
think?
yes.
And stay on the test of time. So you've been with them for a long time. How did it transcend to sort of what you do now in the company?
It went from me working in the hardware department to once the products got out there, I started selling the products. And then after the one company went out of business, then Graber hired me direct, and just being on the road sales. But I mean,
Wow.
it started with a handful of items, and then it went to shutters, then it went to motorization, then it went to drapery. So you're constantly expanding. So
Yeah.
you're just not putting a mini blind up anymore,
No.
or a roller shade up anymore. You're doing something over top of it, or motorizing it. You know.
Exactly. One of the reasons that I wanted to do this show now is because I think styles have changed so much. I would say even in the past 5 to 7 years, don't you think styles have gotten a little bit more clean and contemporary?
Yes.
And people are looking for different things now?
Yes.
You know, when I started my career 21 years ago, I had an account at some of the most expensive Scalamandra for silk fabrics that we paid tons of money for. And when you dressed your window is dressed with lots of fabric and a lot of formality and shears. All that has really just gone away.
Yeah.
It's completely different. You know, when I would use a blind, as I would use your product, or I would use a shade, it was just an undertreatment for functionality. It was all about the fluff and the fold and the this and the that. That's completely gone away. I do see that we still have stationary panels,
Right.
but they're not. They're very straight and very clean. Even the hardware is clean. But it's really about the undertreatment. It's the stuff that you do, which has become the statement now, I think.
Right.
And that's changed because people are confused. When I say blinds, they're confused. When I say shades, they're confused. And the buzzword these days is solar shades.
Right.
Why don't we start? I'm going to take some pictures of some of that stuff. Why don't you talk about what is the solar shade?
Okay. There's roller shades and solar shades.
Right.
Roller shades will either be sheer, room darkening, or blackout.
Right.
Now, solar shades has OPEGs.
Right.
So it'll go from 1% up to 15%.
Right.
So when you say my solar shade is 15%, that means you can see out 15% and it's blocking the other 85%.
Well, let's talk about that. So basically, roller shades have been around forever. In the 1950s, ladies were putting up roller shades in their home, right, for privacy. But roller shades have come back now as more of a fashion statement. You obviously can still get a white roller shade, and they're very functional as an under treatment. But the roller shades now are actually coming to be their own design, right? They're coming out with designs, and it is the treatment itself.
Right.
What's nice about a roller shade is it's inside mount. It's mounted inside. It usually hugs the window, and it's a very clean thing. What's nice is when it's down, you have complete privacy. When it's up, you almost have sort of a soft window treatment like a valance, or it could be completely up. So that's becoming more, a roller shade by itself is becoming its own window treatment, isn't it?
Yes.
With nothing else.
Right, exactly. And then we went from the old roller shade, when you snap, remember, go up.
Yeah, yeah.
So we went from that to ours, you just flip it and it goes up real slow, and then, or you have a continuous cord loop. You have cordless.
Sure.
Or you have motorization.
Let's just say you have more of a transitional or contemporary home, and you say, you know what, I really like the simplicity of roller shades. I want to do the whole house in that. If you want it because you want to have some fashion looks, maybe have some different colors, or ones maybe that have texture or a pattern to them, are the backs always white?
The backs are always neutral to the street.
Okay, great.
Yes,
So which is a good thing. So you can go from room to room.
Yes.
Because it's very important in any window treatment that the fronts, the backs, which is the front of your house or the side of your house, always are neutral, which is very important.
And the main reason, mostly condos and stuff, associations, you have to have white.
Require
so
that.
That's why we do.
Also, even just for going past the home, do you ever go past the Center Hall Colonial and you see like there's a little girl's room with pink curtains?
Yes.
It throws it off. You want to have that neutrality, I think, which is very good. So we talk about the roller shade. They're in style now. You can do them as a treatment, and they come in a lot of different patterns and colors.
Yes.
In addition to that, a solar shade is basically just a roller shade with perforations, correct?
Yes.
How would you determine whether you would want 1% visibility or 15% visibility? Who would make that determination?
It would be what your customer is looking for. Is they're worried about the UV rays coming in. They're worried about their expensive furniture.
Floors, right?
Flooring,
Staining of the floors.
The rugs. Well, that would lessen it. And the other thing you'd have to keep in mind too is whatever privacy, because you can't put it in the bedroom, because whatever you see out during the day, the 5%, if you have a light on inside, they're going to see 5% into your bedroom at night.
So it's exactly equal, because that was my next question to you. If it's 5%, it's 5% both sides.
Ways.
Interesting,
Yeah.
interesting. I think we have some images. Connor, if you can pull up the first image of what a solar shade looks like. Now, very good looking. Those are solar shades. Well, that's us. Very good looking solar shades there. They're inside mount, right?
Yes.
It's hard to tell. With the solar shade, is it a reverse roll, or do you see the top of the roll with the solar shade as you do?
You can, and you can do reverse roll if you want to.
What do you recommend?
Well, it depends. Like with this window, this is just standard, because if you do reverse roll, you'd want it for maybe the handle. That would be a reason. But if you do it the regular way, it gives you more privacy because it's in the back of the window.
Do some people add some sort of a covering or a valance to just to cover the roll when you have roller shades?
That one
or solar
is.
shades?
That's our new contour valance.
Okay.
Or you can do the a regular cassette, or you could do a fascia.
Well, I think that's nice. I think that really finishes it off. I think, now, maybe I'm wrong, without some sort of a cassette or something on top, would it look unfinished to you?
You'll have a light gap.
Yeah.
Unless you
that's
put in
good.
a cornice or some kind of fabric treatment over it.
Yeah, very clean. These are just white, but with off the gray paint, which is very modern. It's got a nice look. Why don't we go to the next one, which I also believe is solar shades. Okay, terrific. So
That's unfinished. That top is like you were just mentioning.
okay. So then you see. Okay, so that's a good example. So you see the roll. That's, but it's not bad looking. And then that's the solar shade that has, obviously you can see there's some opaqueness there.
Yes.
And it looks like they have a beautiful texture to them, or is
Yeah.
that just the...
That's there's a texture to it, yes.
There's a beautiful texture to it and a wonderful gray color. So if we were to look at the outside of the house, those would be neutral to the
Yes,
back. They wouldn't be gray
exactly.
on the back. So that in itself, the simplicity, the undermounting, the functionality of them, make that a wonderful window
Yes.
treatment. You wouldn't put a valance with that. It would look silly. You
No.
wouldn't put panel drapes with that in the space. So that's a great look for people that are looking for what should I do with window treatments in my house. Maybe you have a new construction home, taller windows, unusual shapes. That's got a nice crispness to it.
Yes.
It's clean, it's functional, but yet there's a design to that. There's a pattern to that. There's texture. So I think that's nice. Connor, what do we have coming up next that we can talk about? Okay, so this is interesting because it's a combination of more than one thing. So I see to the left there, it looks like you have solar shades again.
Yes.
Now, is the roll reversed there, or it doesn't look like there's a cassette or a header on that?
Yeah, that has, I don't know, that has some kind of treatment, some
But
kind of valance.
It's clean on
Clean,
top,
yeah.
which I like, and then where I guess where the bottom is, it's nice because it gives it a finished edge on the bottom.
We have that hem bar,
Right.
finished off hem
Hem
fabric.
bar looks
wrapped.
nice. So that's to the left, and that works well inside mount. What is to the right? And are those doors? Looks like they're French doors.
Yes, that's our sliding panels.
Okay.
Our sliding panels, they come on tracks. You can either
Okay.
do 2 all the way up to 5. And what it does is takes the width of your window and you divide it by that many, 5, 4, and that determines the width of your
So
fabric.
is that sort of, so that's done in that same solar shade material?
Yes, same material.
But it's done sort of as a kind of a modern version of the original window covering where they had those the blinds on the windows.
Yeah, yes, you could say that.
Vertical blinds is sort of
Yeah,
a modern version of vertical
Right,
blinds.
but it slides back and forth.
So it doesn't separate.
No, this is a one-way draw, so you could use the door. You
Right.
could do them split draws. People use them as room dividers also.
Oh, isn't that interesting? But so the difference in the fun, because people hated the verticals
Yeah.
because they would separate and they would be very difficult. But this has a nice clean profile. It seems like the panels are wider themselves.
Yes.
Is that true? And then they just go together.
Yes, they just
Okay.
overlap each other.
So
They
that's
go-
a good solution. People are often asking me for a better solution to cover their French doors
Yeah.
or sliders a
Sliders.
lot. So that's a good one. All right, maybe go on to the next image. Okay, so that's really interesting. What is that?
That's the same product, but that's in our solar shade.
Okay, so it's solar shade and looks like it's wide panels.
Yes.
And that's covering a door.
Yeah, exactly.
So there are solutions now. We don't have to go back to the 1980s mauve vertical blind to get it. There are some nice solutions that are modern and clean and
Yes.
work more functionally, I guess. Interesting. Okay, what do we have next? Okay, so that's a beautiful room. Now that looks to me like that particular one is a flat Roman shade.
Exactly.
Now one of the treatments that people are still asking me for is the Roman shade, but it's not so beveled anymore. It's just the flat Roman shade where it's just gathered on the end. Now it looks like on top you have some sort of a valance on top.
That's a 9-inch
So
fabric
that valance is probably covering what's underneath.
Yes.
Now, it looks like those are probably functional flat Roman shades.
They are.
So they go up and down.
Yes.
Sometimes, like in a kitchen window, I might create even a stationary one because you don't need it to come up and down. Can you do that as well?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
But those are all functional, I think, as you can see there, because there's one on each window of that door, which is kind of nice. And that's another. People are always asking me for solutions when they want privacy. Perhaps that's the kitchen, and maybe the homeowners have breakfast with pajamas and they don't want to see that. That's a nice solution to a blind, something light to put on a door, I think.
Right.
And it works well together with that.
Coordinates, yeah.
Yeah, it looks like it's a nice fabric, and I guess the back would be white or a neutral.
It's a liner. So yeah, it's a white liner.
It's a white liner, so you don't have to worry about it facing out different. And that's just a great solution. It is a window treatment, but it's also clean and not very fussy. Is that what you're seeing consistently? Functionality, beauty, but simplicity?
Yeah, yes.
Right, nothing, yeah. I really like that. All right, why don't we go on to the next image? Okay, now that's that same thing. That may be a different fabric, but that's the relaxed, right? And what
Yes.
makes something relaxed is it's not hobbled, right? It's just flat, and then it gathers at the end.
Right.
Now, is that probably a functional one too?
Yeah, it's probably, I'll be honest, it might be a cordless because there's 3 of them there and I don't see any cords. So it's probably cordless and has no valance.
So let's talk about that as well, because we haven't discussed that. And you and I talked a little about that before we came to set, about the popularity of just the touch of being cordless. What are some of the advantages of being cordless?
Well, right now it's mainly child safety. It's the
Sure.
biggest thing is child
Oh, my
safety.
goodness, yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people just don't like the cords hanging.
I don't like the look of the cord.
Yeah,
Just aesthetically, it just looks cleaner.
Right.
So that's got a nice look to it. The gathered bottom is lovely. Now, what I like about this picture, one of the reasons we chose it, is that you don't solely have to do these shades and blinds as the treatment. You can combine that, have that be the under treatment,
Right.
and then have a stationary drape. This looks like it's a stationary drape at the end, a simple drape.
Yep, basically.
Yeah, very nice. I like the cleanness of it, and you could still have a panel. But again, a very clean panel.
The popularity with our side panels like that is light gap. When a
Okay.
customer is worried about light gap, that's why they sell them the side panels.
Right, because when you're doing an under treatment, I guess there would always be an interpretation for a little light going
Right.
through, and that covers that.
Right, exactly.
Terrific. All right, what do we have next, Connor? Okay, so here's another thing that people are asking me for. Again and again, it's been around for a very long time, but people are asking me, again, there's a popularity because it's clean and inside mount, is doing plantation shutters. And what's interesting about this particular one, as in some of the newer homes, you have your window, your base window, but then you have a transom on top. And these transoms here happen to have an arch to them.
Right.
So that's great. That's very customized, I would imagine, because arches aren't standard.
Exactly.
So what does someone come out and template?
Yeah, you do a template, and
Okay.
see ours is movable to
Yeah.
that point.
Now let's talk about this particular one. It's a series of 3. It's nice and clean. It works well and it allows light come in. Now does that has the tilt bar I see here?
Yes.
Would you say that's a composite, or is that a painted wood?
That I would assume is probably wood. Most people will use wood because it's lighter, unless they're in a high humidity area down the shore. They'll
Right.
use composite.
Right. So that's a painted wood, and it has that, what you call the tilt bar?
Tilt bar, yes.
But you said something to me once about the tilt bar, or maybe it wasn't you that said it, about you don't really pull from the
Yeah.
tilt bar. Tell me about that, because I think that's interesting for our
Well,
viewers.
with the tilt bar,
Right.
what most people do, they'll use that to tilt. But what it is, it's to tilt the slats. So once you're supposed to really grab the slat and then tilt it that way.
Not
and then,
the bar.
Yeah, and if you want
But I bet you everybody
they do. But the problem is they're stapled, and then the staples break.
So it's actually not a good thing to do.
No, no.
Do you find with plantation shutters, people often get it to a setting that they like where there's enough filtered light coming through, but it's private and they don't move it all the time?
Most of the time,
That's
yeah.
what I would think that they do. People want the functionality to move it, but I don't think they do.
Right.
I
And they
think-
never open them, just to clean the windows.
Exactly, exactly. And that's a question for people too. Some people say to me, I love the look of it, but if I want air to come through, more air to come through, can I open them out? Are they hinged and I can do that?
Yes.
That's a popularity. So, because you want to open the window and so on. But to me, that's something, to me, a plantation shutter would add value to a home.
Oh, yes.
Right.
Shutters are the only thing you'd add to the mortgage.
Right, right.
know,
It's furniture. Well,
it
not
stays
furniture.
with-
It's, right. It's
yeah.
like trim almost,
Yeah, it
right?
stays with the house,
Sure,
basically.
sure. And it's nice that it looks like it matches the color of the trim. I mean, there's a million whites in the world. You were saying something about the Benjamin Moore colors, or you could match,
Right.
correct? How does
With
that
our
work?
wood blinds
With the wood.
and our wood shutters, you can do custom color.
Wow.
And you can just name the Benjamin Moore color number, and they will
Right.
match to that. And as you said, whites are #1 custom color.
Sure.
Because there's so many whites.
So many whites. Now, I would understand that for painted surfaces, for the wood painted shutter. If you have a stained shutter, can you match? Let's say your trim is stained. Can you match that as well?
Same thing. You could match the cabinets right there if you wanted to match that cabinet. as
Yeah,
long
let's
as
say you
gave us a
wanted to
little-
do that. Right.
Give us a 4x4
Oh, and you'll
swatch.
customize
And
it?
you'll custom color.
Oh, that's terrific. So it could really be seamless.
Yep.
So especially if you were doing maybe a kitchen and then there was a piece that was over the kitchen window and it tied into the cabinets, you could actually make that match if you
Yes.
wanted to make that match. Personally, I like white, but
Right,
I mean,
right.
some people do want to do that. All right, why don't we go to the next image? Okay, so this is also a plantation shutter, but this looks very different to me.
It doesn't have the tilt bar. It
Okay.
has hidden tilt.
Hidden tilt.
So you
how
can
do
tilt it. There's the hidden tilt bars on the side. It's a metal that
Oh, it's on the side. You
connects-
just can't really see.
Yeah, it's in the back of it, so you can't see it. It's
I thought you were
hidden.
going to say you touched the louvers.
Oh no. Again, with the slats is how you
Right.
tilt it.
This looks a lot more contemporary to me. I guess the tilt bar makes it look more traditional,
Right.
don't you think?
Exactly.
Now, does it affect the functionality at all not having the tilt bar?
Not at all.
Not really. It's just a different look. It's a cleaner look. Now, this happens to be. It looks like it's a stained one, correct?
Yes.
What's more popular these days, the painted one or the stained one?
I don't have that. It's probably, I would be probably pretty sure it's probably 50-50 almost.
Really?
Yeah.
Now, the one thing I would probably imagine when you have a colored plantation shutter, you're getting that color on the outside.
Yeah, that's true.
So that's something to consider when you do it, because I did a library room about 15 years ago, and we matched the plantation shutters to the wall, which was that wood stain, which was lovely. But I said, keep in mind, when you look at this from the outside of your house, it's going to be different from
Right.
the outside. So something
Exactly.
to keep in mind. But a very different look. Would you say that this particular window treatment is good for a bedroom? The one thing I'm concerned about with this in a bedroom is, because they hug the window, plantation shutter hugs the window, I guess there's not really light gap like other treatments, is there?
You will have light gap through the slats.
Yeah.
And,
That's what
and
I
the other,
thought.
to make it tighter, you can run your fingers down it to make it room dark. But that, if you're worried about
Light gap.
light privacy,
Yeah.
that you wouldn't do that in a bedroom.
Would you maybe incorporate that with some blackout panels, like on the side, and just you could close it
you
at
could,
night?
if you wanted to, you could put draperies over it that would pull it
On
open.
the edges, right?
Yeah.
Just to sort of, maybe one for each one, just so that you could have, so you didn't have that. Because more and more people are asking me for blackout shades than ever before.
Right, right.
Okay. Why don't we go on to the next one? Okay, so that looks like a wall of beautiful plantation shutters with the bar. And that looks probably more like that looks like a beachy scene, more like a composite.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, I'm just very curious. You said something that kind of surprised me, and you said this when we were at a client's house. You said that composite, I was sure you were going to say composite is lighter, right? Composite, wood. It's the opposite,
Yeah,
isn't it?
composite.
Why is the wood lighter?
The composite is made up of the foam and the poly and stuff it's made of.
Sure.
And it's heavier. It's
Yeah.
just, and then actually to stabilize it, there's a metal bar in the side rails.
Oh, so it adds
that would
weight
make
to it.
Yes,
No,
that's
that
what
makes
makes
a lot
it
of
heavier.
sense. What do you personally like better? If you had your choice, and you're going to do white, and you could do wood or composite, which would you probably
I would
choose?
do wood.
You like
Yeah.
the weight of wood? You like
It's
the
lighter,
look of wood?
yeah. And when you could do stain to bring out the beauty of the wood,
Right.
that is the key way to
Yeah,
do it.
yeah,
But
sure.
if not, I would do wood basically.
Yeah, but in this application probably is a beach application when there's moisture, so probably a better fit to do the composite.
Yeah, you don't really have.
Does
a choice.
composite come in colors too?
We have basically 3 whites. It's like an
Okay.
off-white and 2 other whites. What they find is the darker the composite, and that goes for the same with faux blind. You got to be careful with warpage when it's shut because there's a lot of heat in between the window and the slat.
And how about fading too?
Fade, it could happen too. Yes.
If you went with darker colors or
Yes,
so on.
yes.
So if you want the look of stain, it's only wood.
Yes.
If you want the look of white, you could do either or.
Either or, right.
Interest. Okay, what do we have next? That's pretty room. Okay, so this is very interesting. This is something we haven't talked about yet that people always ask me for, and that's top down, bottom up. Why don't you talk about that functionality? Now this looks like, what actually is that? Is that a...
That's our 2-inch pleated shades.
That's pleated shades,
Yeah,
okay.
Very popular than the 1-inch because it gives you more, it's wider spans. But that's our top down, bottom up, and that's cordless. So
Okay.
you can bring it from the top down and have privacy. It's good for bedrooms because you can have it halfway down and
Right.
be able to see out, no one can see in. And the same
Sure.
with that, if a neighbor's walking by, the side they won't see in, and the other window they're not worried about it, so they have it up from the bottom.
From privacy, I think it's nice because it lets a light in. I've never personally been such a fan of the pleated shades for that reason,
Right.
because to me it's like all or nothing. Although if you had it like the one that's to the left, that's a very good looking look even if it stayed like that.
Right.
Obviously in an area of privacy that wouldn't work. This particular one looks nice because it almost, and maybe it's just the picture, but it gives the illusion of almost like being bamboo or something
Yeah,
like
exactly.
that. It seems like there's a lot of textures, right? Are people going more for texture?
When it comes to pleated shades, because we have the cellular shades, basically it's the color with the cellular shade. When you want any kind of texture or linen or stuff, you have to go toward that fabric because they don't make it in the cellular shades.
Yeah, no, I like that a lot. So explain to me, because I think it's kind of confusing for our viewers, when it's in the feature where it's top down like that, where it's open on top, what's holding it up if there's no, are there cords there? What's
Yeah,
separate?
there's the cords holding it up. There's cords in the head rail and bottom rail, so when you're sliding it up and sliding down, there's tension there that stops it whenever you stop it.
Now, are the cords visible?
Yes, the cords are visible.
You just
Yeah,
don't see them in the
right.
shot.
Exactly.
But they all have some sort of a head rail on, which looks nice, and they're
Yes.
completed. Okay, why don't we go to the next one? Okay, so this is your classic stained, dark
Cordless wood blind.
wood blind, right? Now, is that probably about, what was that, 3 inches, 2 inches?
This is our 2-inch wood here.
Okay. What is the maximum width?
We have a 2 3/8, a
Uh-huh.
2-inch, and we also do a 1-inch. And then there you could see the holes, and we also do no holes. Where
Okay.
the ladders run, you can also do no holes there if you want.
Yeah, it's a good look. They almost look like tortoisey looking there. They have a nice rail on them. So people, I see that you have the bars on the side. That's how they're navigating the.
We have wand tilt or we have cord tilt on it too.
What's easier? I bet you.
Cord tilt's tighter. It's a tighter fit, but again, wand with child safety, and if you don't want the cords, you just do
Sure.
the wand.
Now, I noticed with this, there's probably a lot of light gap. If you had the space, which you don't really have great space here, I'd probably incorporate this with some simple stationary panels. I think
Side
that would
panels.
complete the look a little bit, although they do look very nice. All right, do we have any other images? We're about 2 minutes and 50 seconds here left. So that's sort of a detail of the wood. That's beautiful.
Shows the beauty of the wood.
Very nice. Yeah, and the functionality. And Graber's a great company. I haven't had any problems. Everything's worked very well from install and durability and so on.
Thank you. And you could actually go to GraberBlinds.com.
So spell that for
Oh,
our
it's
viewers.
GRABER.com.
Okay.
GraberBlinds.com, and then you can they show you all the different blinds, basically all these pictures we see here, and you can actually put your zip code in and find a dealer.
Oh, wow.
Very easily.
Yeah,
And then they'll send you, and you can even have swatches sent to your house if you see something you like on the website.
Almost so you can see if it works
Yeah,
with you.
they'll send you swatches.
Well, it sounds like there's a lot of options for people.
Yes.
Let's talk a little bit. What we haven't about is about the draperies, because I wasn't even aware myself that you guys also have a workroom and then you can make draperies.
Yes.
And I guess soft treatments as well.
We do the full line of soft treatments. We have a workroom in Florida. We do anything from pillows to draperies to cornices
Wow.
to Roman shades, or 5 different Roman shades.
What's the lead time on something like that?
That's actually, we're doing 10 days.
10 days?
10
That's
working
amazing.
days, and then it's a couple days to ship.
Now, do you work with something called COM, Customer's Own Material? Perhaps they're working with a designer and they want to incorporate a fabric. They send you the fabric, it goes down to Florida, they make it with that as well?
We have all the grids that you'd have to figure out how much yardage you need for what product, and yes, you can do that.
Wonderful. Well, this is really an education, because I think, again, I see this, and maybe you agree, that styles have changed a lot. They're minimal. Even people that have traditional home center hall colonials, they're not decorating the same way anymore. It's cleaner. So I think blinds and shades are not going anywhere, and I think you're going to see them more and more in spaces. And if there's a panel, it's a simple panel, right?
Yes.
Or if there's a soft treatment, maybe just a relaxed Roman. But for the most part, I think it's going to be more about shades and functionality.
Right.
So anything else that you see coming as far as trends? We talk on the show about trends.
I would say motorization.
Motorization.
Everyone is motorized in either that top window, that window they can't reach, child safety, home security.
Talk quickly, because we have about 20 seconds left, about the thing that you can do with an app.
Oh, we have a virtual cord, it's called. You can go onto YouTube and look up Graber Virtual Cord. It's actually a Z-Wave chip in it, where you can go onto your app if you have like the Iris, the Wink, or any of those products there that has the Z-Wave technology, and operate off your app.
So you forget to do your blinds at night, and they're done remotely. Isn't that wonderful?
Exactly.
Dennis, thank you so much for being my guest. You did a great job.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.